Hi, welcome back to Scathingly Brilliant Idea. This is Nancy, and I wanted to get back to you with some additional first impressions on my Wonderland 222 A5 Core Horizontal Planner that I got for 2026 to use as my work planner. As I shared in my unboxing video last week, one of the first things I noticed when I opened it up was just the busyness of all of the grid lines that show up on here, partially because of shading and partially because the lines you're seeing are through a couple of layers down and they don't line up with the grid on each page. And it's most noticeable really on the last month, the last week of the month. For those of you who don't know, this is an integrated or a planner that has the months combined with the weeks. It doesn't have all the months at the beginning and then all the weeks after that. So you'll see, you do expect more transition because of that nature. And I first thought maybe it was the shading because it does look a little bit darker than I remembered it being. Um, and so I went back to my planner from 2024 where I used the full size unstacked vertical weeks. And I can't show you this because I use it for work and it's got a lot of confidential information in here. But I did verify that no, it's not the shading, the line shading and the shading that you see over, in particular, over the calendar, where it's slightly darker on the weekends than it is during the week. That was essentially the same in terms of depth. It's coming off a little bit browner um, instead of gray, just because of the color of this paper is more cream toned than the other paper that they had been using. But you see it here, and I'm going to show you a flip through from a distance, and then I'm going to show you a close up. So here we go then into the October review from the last page of October, and then we're going into the November overview, and you see all that busyness here because the next page is then your 2-page monthly calendar. And then after this, you go back into the weeklies. So you have a lot of busyness here too, because you're going into the weeklies. And these are slightly off too. And that could probably just be a printer issue. So I did a little sleuthing and I'm going to show you what I found in terms of some of the grid sizes. So first I'm going to zoom in, and unfortunately the way the camera works, when you zoom in, you don't necessarily see it. Well, there you go. You can see some of what I'm talking about. And so this is pretty much in the middle of the book. At first I thought, well, maybe it's just that the book needed to be relaxed a little bit and there was some curve around the spine that was creating that illusion that they were different. But no, this is completely flattened out. And you can see that the grids don't really line up very well at all from what you see through. And some of that has to do with what's exactly on the opposite page here. And some of it has to do with what's on the following page that you're seeing. So for example, I'm going to do some measurements. So bear with me as I do this. I'm using my flexible Midori so I can get it as flat as possible against here. And I'm going to, I have to take my glasses off in order to see this, so hopefully I don't get my head in the frame, but this is showing that it's about 1.2 centimeters from the top of this box to the top of this page. And of course, this is a different layout, so I wouldn't expect it to be exactly identical. But if we go over here, here, this one's pretty well lined up. It's the same. So the top of these opposing pages, which represent the full week spread for the last week of October, are fairly lined up. They are different though because the layout of this page is different. So that's creating some of the difference. For example, this is now a little shy of one. Let me get it up there. 1 millimeter. And this is like a full 8/9. And this is slightly between, no, that's pretty much 9/10 too. I would say those are the same. here I'm measuring the grid sizes on the different pages, and they all end up being about the same. It's just that because of their placement, they don't um, square up with one another. They're all the zero point 0.4 millimeter. As you can see here, when you squish them together, this thicker margin starts further in on the page here than it does um, later on. And if I like make it completely flat like this, it still is off a little bit. So that means all the boxes behind are off a little bit too. Now this one, it appeared that it was a little bit offset from the top. So I did a measurement there too. Let me pull that back down. So there you can see, I'll flip it around. So you can see where it starts at the top, it goes down to about 1.2 and it starts at the top here and it's the same. So that one's just an optical illusion a little bit. I think I did find a page or two that might have been off, but that's probably just within a normal variance from a printer, I would imagine. I don't know. Bottom line on this is that I don't know that I'm going to still use this. If I do use it, I will need to use a pencil board behind it. When I get to these dizzying pages, that makes it a lot easier for me to see how to write. But I'm not accustomed to using a pencil board all the time. So, that would be an option, or I could just decide not to use this. It's not the end of the world if I don't. It's a disappointment though. And I guess the other thing I'll just add about Wonderland 222, I have a ton of their notebooks. I love their product. I was a little disappointed though in their super secret paper selection for this year. If you've been anywhere among the planner community, you know that paper was the big deal this year. And so I thought at the beginning of the year when they weren't announcing it, I hesitated to buy it because so many other people were going with papers I knew I did not want in a planner. They just didn't work for me. And so I was a little hesitant to see what they would pick because that paper is a deal breaker when it comes to something I want to write in every day. And so when I read recently that they've come out and said that it's going to be their trade secret. And that's fine. I have nothing against them for choosing to do that with their business. However, I think I would have appreciated as a consumer to be told that at the front, not like it was not, we're not announcing it yet, but we might we will someday, right around the time of pre-orders, which they have one of the earliest pre-orders in my understanding, or of the planner world that I orbit. But the fact that now all along they're coming out and saying, well, we're not going to tell you really what it is because it's going to be our trade secret. So I had read somewhere doing a little more research, read somewhere in a blog that it was a View Corona paper. And I was going to compare it to an example of that I already have. But they're saying that it's still white is, this is what their planner was 2 years ago, and this is what it is now. And, while technically from a technical perspective, it might be white, it is definitely more cream colored looking in my opinion. So I was going to get out the View Corona sample that I have in my little paper sample book and do a comparison of it. There it is. So I'm going to pull this out. And you can kind of see where this has a much similar tone to it. It's a little bit more off-white. It's 52 GSM. This is also 52 GSM. And then I do like the way this paper performs. I have no grudge against this paper. I just have a grudge against them not disclosing what paper it was they were going to be using earlier. Well, even not now. But I did some pen tests back here using some different pens I happen to have inked up. And I was going to add my juiciest pen here is my 146, and I have this in a double broad. So I was going to do a sample on this test sheet I have to see how it performs and to see if it's very similar or not. So see how shiny that is? Immediately, if you look to the back, there's no bleed through. I mean, ghosting is to be expected. And this is a sample I wrote earlier, and it is dried, and it will look very similar. So paper performance, A+, size, A+, layout, conceptually good. In application, it's a little disappointing just because of all that busyness. I may decide to get used to it. I may decide to not use this and give it away to somebody. So that's a TBD. I'm in the process of looking through all my planners that I ordered to decide what it is my final lineup's going to be. But I wanted to get back on and give you a quick update on this Wonderland 222 that I unboxed last week. Thanks for watching.